It was less Scream 2 and more I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And if you're a horror movie fan, you know that that's not a good thing. I'm John Rentham with the Retro Review, WWE WrestleMania 2, Electric Boogaloo. 3 locations got 4 matches each. New York, Chicago, and LA. And there were maybe 3 matches out of those 12 that were any good, that were worthy of being on the grand stage of WrestleMania. And after the first WrestleMania was a huge success, they decide, hey, we're just going to go bonkers and do 3 different locations for Mania and do smaller cards, and we're all going to have our own teams coordinating and doing the simulcast stuff. And, you know, it was ambitious, I'll give Vince that, but it was a really bad idea. And here's why, because a lot of the matches were absolute shit. And I thought that this show, oh, there might be some good things on it, and there were a couple good things, but this is 3 hours, and it felt longer than WrestleMania 4 in some respects. I mean, it was really bad, and they ramped up the goddamn celebrity involvement because WrestleMania 1 was, you know, celebrity, sports entertainment, Hollywood, wrestling, human centipede together, presented to the glorious asses of the masses. But this was just bad because you had guest commentators that didn't know fuck all about wrestling in every single location, and really only the one in LA was any goddamn good, Elvira, because at least it seemed like Elvira wanted to be there. This was a really bad show. A really, really bad show. And god damn it. Vince McMahon, it's a good thing Vince McMahon has kind of mellowed out in his old age and hasn't tried anything absolutely insane on pay-per-view or TV. Except he totally has, because the man's gone fucking bonkers. But you would have thought that he would have known that this wouldn't have worked. Now, granted, it was still a commercial success. The event may have been panned, but it led to WrestleMania 3 and 93,173. Bullshit. But it did help, you know, launch the whole, you know, big, grand epic that is WrestleMania that's going to this day. So, Vince welcomes us in New York, the Nassau Coliseum, and along with Susan St. James. Let me say right now, I don't know who the hell Susan St. James is. I believe she was in some TV series or something like that. I don't know. So I don't know how she is as an actress. She was a terrible commentator. She had no fucking idea what she was doing. Vince just would have been better off having a retired wrestler. Have Pedro Morales, have Bruno. Well, I mean, Bruno was in Chicago. Have somebody join you that could have done something. Get a camera guy to join you. Get a camera woman to join you. God damn it. She was so catastrophically bad. And Ray Charles singing America the Beautiful, or some rendition. It was great that everybody got to see Ray Charles. He couldn't reciprocate, but I digress. So, Piper is talking about, you know, how he's talking about the boxing match he's going to have with Mr. T to close out the Nassau Coliseum portion. So bear in mind, by the way, that Chicago is watching this on big screens, so is LA. And LA's, you know, portion of the program is coming up last. So the LA fans had to watch the first 2 hours on big screens. And then the Nassau Coliseum got to see the last 2 hours on big screens. Chicago got to see screened wrestling for 1 hour, then their stuff, and then screened wrestling. I'm not sure who got screwed more here. I mean, if everybody had fun, that's great. It seemed like the Chicago crowd actually was the hottest. But Piper's talking, and he's talking about growing out his hair. He says, I grew my hair out so some of you people could tell the difference. Let me just say right now that I'm going to mention some stuff that Piper said that I found hilarious, but I also found, god damn, I can't believe he got away with that even in '86. So, the Magnificent Morocco with Mr. Fuji versus a face Paul Orndorff. And Paul Orndorff would turn on Hulk Hogan soon after this, and it would lead to a half-year feud where they would draw like 60-something thousand people. In Toronto, they would do really great business. We cut the comments, by the way, but just audio, not like, you know, little graphics in the corner of like their interviews. And Susan St. James didn't know fuck all about anything. Have I mentioned that? She was, oh, well, this guy, oh, I thought this guy would win this. She wasn't, nobody was as bad as Art Donovan. How much does this guy weigh? But boy, she was bad. Double count out. And the crowd chants bullshit. That's the reaction you want with the first match at Mania. Bullshit chants from the Nassau Coliseum. Granted, the Nassau Coliseum would get a bullshit show in Bunkhouse Stampede in January of '88, which wasn't necessarily the fault of the talents. It was just the fact that they shouldn't have run in New York. But anyway, Mr. T is with Joe Frazier and the Haiti Kid, and, well, Mr. T sure tried to hype this thing up, didn't he? And Georgie Animal Steel, goofy Georgie Animal Steel, who wanted to go after Miss Elizabeth. Let me just say right now, I don't blame him. Elizabeth was beautiful, and fuck Lex Luger for leading to her death. You goddamn piece of shit. Randy Savage defended the Intercontinental Championship, by the way, that he just won from Tito Santana about a month prior and would hold it until WrestleMania 3, and that absolute classic against Ricky Steamboat. You might have heard of it. It is only considered one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, if not the greatest, depending on who you talk to. So it was mostly comedy. They did not give the crowd much of anything to really fucking cheer for, though. We get a bouquet of flowers to the face, because why not? Turnbuckles got ripped, so the padding's all over. Elbow for 2, because George Steele wanted to kick out of people's finishes, despite the fact he shouldn't have even been wrestling by this point. And then feet on the ropes, 1, 2, 3. So that's it. Mean Gene's in Chicago interviewing Big John Studd and a football player. I actually don't remember the name right now, but he interviewed him. And I actually have a list of the people, because I totally forgot to bring that, I totally forgot that I even wrote that down, because there's a lot of people in that Battle Royal a little bit later. So, George Wells, who apparently was a former football player turned wrestler, he took on Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake the Snake. He has a python with him, was the actual line from Susan St. James. Yeah, Susan, he's called Jake the Snake Roberts. Why are you here, you stupid twat? Anyway, DDT for 3. George Wells actually didn't do that bad. I'm not familiar with him, and he retired a couple years after this, but he wasn't bad. And then, Jake the Snake, drapes his huge python all over George Wells, and it starts choking him, and he pretends to, be like spitting from the mouth, like, oh God, it's crushing his windpipe and stuff like that. And yeah, a snake choking a black guy on, pay-per-view. Maybe not the best look for wrestling. Anyway, so Mr. T and Roddy Piper video package. Then we cut to Jesse Ventura. Vince McMahon, you don't have to pitch anything to me. This is Jesse Ventura out in LA with WrestleMania 2. And he had somehow less faker hair than Hogan. And it was actually a headdress thing. And he interviewed Hogan about Hogan's injured ribs and battling King Kong Bundy in the main event. And then Joan Rivers with 2 gallons of hair spray and also hair. And parts of her were actually still under 18 at this point, because she kept getting plastic surgery until the day she died. Because plastic surgery is really goddamn stupid. Don't get addicted to it, kids. What the fuck is wrong with you? She died at the age of 90. Some parts of her were only 5 years old. Some parts of her were 50. So anyway, she introduces the judges for the boxing match. I don't remember who they are. Sorry. And also Piper and Mr. T. Mr. T versus Roddy Piper in a boxing match. Let me say right now, this is one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. Piper has said that. Piper has done interviews where he basically wanted to get Mr. T mad so he could find a reason to basically shoot on him. And I don't blame him. Mr. T, as far as being a celebrity, being involved in wrestling, he just never seemed to be somebody that he wanted to be on TV, and he liked Hulk. It just didn't seem like he dedicated himself to it. He thought he thought he was tougher and stuff like that, not like some of these fake wrestlers. And believe me, I hate saying that word, but that's how some celebrities view people. And by the way, wrestling isn't fake. Predetermined? Yes, not fake. Hate using that word, but god damn it, some people piss me off. Anyway, this was complete shit. One of the worst things that ever took place at WrestleMania. It's not quite as bad as the sumo match the Big Show and Akibono had, but it was really shit. The crowd hated it. Mr. T missed a big punch in the 3rd round. Piper still went with it because he's like, oh, I'm mad now. He had, his hands taped where he couldn't grab the ropes. I mean, he had boxing gloves on, but basically they were afraid that he was going to shoot on Mr. T, which, let's be honest, they should have let David Schultz shoot on Mr. T, which, by the way, I wish David Schultz had slapped John Stossel harder, because he couldn't, hold his daughter. His daughter would scream, and his ears would hurt and stuff like that. And then he won a lawsuit, and it magically went away, because John Stossel's a goddamn piece of shit. And I hope that he actually did have pain and did suffer for calling wrestling fake. He deserved to be smacked to the point where his goddamn jaw went into the freaking next zip code. Anyway, David Schultz, great for wrestling. So, Piper basically threw his hard stool right at Mr. T. Man, you got to use some stool softener there. And then Piper eventually knocks the ref down, not even meaning to, and slams Mr. T, causing a DQ. Roddy chants, Roddy, Roddy, because they were happy, because they hated the match, and they were like, well, if Mr. T isn't very good, let's just cheer Roddy Piper. Then we go to the Rosemont Horizon. So now the New York crowd in the Nassau Coliseum, if they weren't all leaving in droves after seeing that dreck of a card, they got to watch the next 2 hours on screen. Monsoon and Gene Okerlund welcome us. Monsoon and Kathy Lee Crosby are doing commentary. I believe Mean Gene also did commentary. I have no idea who Kathy Lee Crosby is, though the name does ring a bell. Fabulous Moolah versus Velvet McIntyre for the Women's Championship. And Velvet misses a splash, and Moolah, wins in about 90 seconds. Let me just say right now, the Fabulous Moolah deserves every bit of ridicule that she got. And I hope she's rotting in hell. It's what she fucking deserves. And that she, fuck Fabulous Moolah. I'm glad she's dead as well. Because she deserved to die horribly for all that she did. All the career she held down. All the shit she did to so many women's wrestlers. Thinking that she was way bigger than she ever was. And she never was. She held women's wrestling back for years and years and years. She ruined the chance for the Glamour Girls and the Jumping Bomb Angels to get a WrestleMania payoff with the Women's Tag Team Championships. But no, that was abandoned because Moolah just couldn't stand anybody being bigger than her, even though there are wrestlers that, even when they were dead, were better workers than Fabulous Moolah was when she was alive. She was never going to be Mildred Burke. She wasn't even going to be Mildred Burke's right toe. She was always going to be somebody that sure was tough. She would take those slams on the concrete when she was 50 or 60, and she would do that shit to try and reinvent herself. And she could be the grandmotherly type. Now, we all know what you were, Moolah. We all know what you were. And guess what? Hopefully your daughter's a better person than you were, because you were never good for wrestling, you dumb, stupid twat. Anyway, poor Velvet McIntyre, whoever she is. Name rings bell. Can't recall where else I've seen her. Mean Gene says to Kathy Lee Crosby, so you've been aligned with a football player or two? Gee, Gene, why don't you just say she was railed by the entire bench? It's pretty much what it was. Monsoon, by the way, was also flirting with her pretty hardcore. I mean, I'm not saying she wasn't a beautiful woman, but dear God, Gina, what the hell, man? Try to keep it in your pants a little bit. This place is going bananas. Pearl Harbor job right there. Good old Monsoon quotes. Corporal Kirshner versus Nikolai Volkov with Fred Blassie. It's a flag match, but it's not capture the flag. It's 2 minutes. Kirshner bled somehow. Ref bump. Kane shot because Blassie doesn't quite have the arm strength that he used to. Didn't work out like it did at Mania 1 when he handed it to Iron Sheik and him and Nikolai Volkov won the tag titles. Nope. Kane shot to Volkov 1, 2, 3. There you go. That's your lot right there. NFL versus WWE Battle Royal. Ernie Ladd joining commentary. Let me sit under the learning tree. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Listen to some podcasts. I've listened to Cornette do impressions of Ernie Ladd, and I'm sorry. I love Ernie Ladd. Rest in peace, Ernie. God damn it. Should be embarrassed by that, and I am, but I'm also not. So, participants were Jumbo Covert, which honestly sounds like the worst type of knockoff, a military guy. Or he's a secret spy. He's doing covert missions. He played for the Bears. Pedro Morales, yes, the former Intercontinental and WWF champion. Tony Atlas. I totally forgot Tony Atlas was still in WWE at this point. Ted Arcidi. Sorry about that if I screwed that up. Harvey Martin played for Dallas. Dan Spivey, who did fuck all of anything, which sums up Dan Spivey's career. Dan Spivey is one of the worst wrestlers that I've ever seen. I've never understood how that guy got, work. Seriously. Take a look at the stuff even in Japan, but his stuff in WCW when he was part of the Skyscrapers. Sid was the one they wanted to see, but Dan Spivey thought he should get in the ring. He was Waylon Mercy. Sure, he was a decent promo. That was it. And Hillbilly Jim, love Hillbilly Jim. His Hall of Fame speech is still going on to this day, but Hillbilly Jim is awesome. King Tonga, who is Haku. Haku is here. Everybody goddamn run. Iron Sheik. Ernie Holmes of the Steelers. Now, that name I've heard of. The Killer Bees. Oh no, Nicolas Cage is upset. Bret Hart. Big John Studd. Bill Fralick, who is playing for the 49ers, who was being interviewed along with John Studd a little bit earlier. Jim Neidhart. Russ Francis of the Falcons. Bruno Sammartino in his only Mania match. Because he was in the corner of his brother, his son. That didn't work. And then William the Refrigerator Perry, also Andre the Giant. The officials, by the way, were Dick Butkus and Eddie Too Tall Jones. Gee, I wonder who won the Battle Royal. It's not like Andre the Giant was the king of the Battle Royals or anything. Andre the Giant won. He won, just in case you didn't quite get that. William the Refrigerator Perry and Andre the Giant got the biggest pops. I will say, they did pop for Dick Butkus. They did boo Ed Too Tall Jones. It was a mess. Dan Spivey did fucking all. Huge pop for Perry and Studd having their face off. Perry got eliminated, and then Perry pulled Studd out. That was cool. And then Andre wins. It was good. At the end, at least. I mean, it was a mess, but you know what? They made it quick, and Andre... So sad to see Andre like this, though. It was really goddamn sad to see him like this. We cut to Vince and Susan interviewing Piper. He mentions Mr. T and William the Refrigerator Perry cheating. I'm going to tell you what Piper said. Bear in mind, this is what Piper said. He is the same guy, by the way, that said about Mr. T on that Tuesday Night Titan show, the only guy in the world I know that wears more chains than his ancestors. How did he think he could get away with that? I mean, there's a part of me that laughs at humor like that, but there's also a part of me like, why? Why would you do that? Like, what in the world? What the hell? Anyway, he says, I saw you rubbing those gnarly bristles, referring to his hair. I don't have to cut my hair like an Indian. I don't have to dye myself black, which is funny because Piper would dye himself, half black and, leave the other part white for WrestleMania 6. He was trying to do Michael Jackson. It was a bad idea. It was a really bad idea. It was a really, really bad idea. A lot of Piper's material does not age that well. It's funny in a dark way, but it's also holy shit. Man, what the hell, Piper? Anyway, Battle Royal recaps, and then Monsoon's hitting on Crosby, because good lord. Then we get Valentine and Beefcake, the Dream Team with luscious Johnny Valiant, versus the British Bulldog with Lou Albano and Ozzy Osbourne. Did Ozzy Osbourne have a goddamn clue where he was? The answer is I don't think he's had a clue where he was since he started touring. Maybe 1975. But good lord. The pace is good enough. As a tag title match, by the way. Davey was just a natural. Of course, you had the prickish Dynamite Kid. I didn't shed a tear when he passed away because he was a prick. He threatened one of his girlfriends in a really bad... Girlfriends or wives in a really, really bad way. And he was a bully. He was great in the ring, but he's a bully. So fuck him. Anyway, British Bulldogs forever! That was an actual quote from Ozzy Osbourne. The new champs, by the way. British Bulldogs won. Then we cut to Vince and Susan. This was just... This is where the show was just really getting out of control. I'm surprised the Battle Royal actually wasn't the main event of the Chicago portion. You would have thought it would have been. It was cool they gave the Bulldogs that, or at least Davey. I mean, Dynamite didn't deserve any credit at that point. Jesus fucking Christ. But at least there was some good. It got a little bit better with the main event of the LA portion. But yeah, so Chicago is now watching it on the screen again. Provided there were still people there, and they weren't leaving like, we're not going to watch this. We don't care how much we spent. We didn't pay to watch something on a goddamn television. At least in an arena. Even though they've done closed circuit stuff and stuff like that. And yes, Jim Crockett Promotions had done it. They did in venues where it worked, and AWA did stuff like that too, but just, it was a risk given the fact that this was their big grand show. Cut to Jesse Ventura, Elvira, and Lord Alfred Hayes, who has his own dark past. And the LA Memorial Sports Arena, which I believe was the same venue where WrestleMania 7 was held. Elvira, man, she doesn't look much different. I mean, you want to talk about plastic surgery, sure, but Elvira looks about the same there, and about the same 20 years later. Ricky Steamboat took on Hercules Hernandez. Before they just called him the Mighty Hercules. Better than the Mighty Clean and Jercules. Gross. So, decent enough. I mean, Ricky Steamboat was a natural, and Herc at this point was motivated. Coming off of his run in Mid-South, and I believe he was in World Class for a little bit. Nice arm drags by Steamboat. Some very good power from Hercules because he was a natural. And then a crossbody 1, 2, 3. It's 7 minutes, but it was fine. Adrian Adonis and all drag and everything because he had the flower shop and all that. With Jimmy Hart taking on Uncle Elmer. Plowboy Frazier was a gimmick. And it's unfortunate that he passed away. It really is. But this was not good. This was really bad. And not that you would expect much from Adonis, who by this point had gained too much weight. And Elmer, who was never a natural worker, he was more of a gimmick. Headbutt from Adonis, 1, 2, 3. I think it was like 3 minutes, and it felt twice that long. Hogan then says he will beat Bundy, hurt ribs or not. Terry and Hoss Funk, they called Dory Funk Jr. Hoss Funk. Why? Why? To this day, I don't know why. Taking on JYD and Tito, or rather, as Jesse Ventura says, Chico Santana. That's why every time Brian Cage comes out on AEW, I always say from Chico Santana, California. Or at least I hear it, because goddammit, Jesse Ventura finds a way to worm his way into everybody's head, especially if you watch wrestling as long as I have. I totally forgot that Terry wrestled at WrestleMania. I mean, I know he wrestled in WWE, or at least this early of a WrestleMania, because he had wrestled at WrestleMania 14. And Dory Funk Jr. actually gained a shot at Mania, but it was cool. It wasn't bad, but it was just random. But we did get a megaphone to the back of JYD's head, and Terry covers 1, 2, 3. And the cage gets set up, we get stalling, we get video packages, Hogan working out, trying to show his ribs are good. Bundy and Heenan promo, Bundy's going to beat Hogan, and he doesn't because he faces off against him in a steel cage match for the WWE title. And Tommy Lasorda, recently passed away, longtime manager of the LA Dodgers. He does the introductions. This at least felt like a main event. It finally felt like a WrestleMania. Like, the tag match, tag title match felt like a Mania match. Battle Royal felt like a Mania match. This felt like a Mania match. This felt like, okay, cool, we're getting this. And this was worth it. And of course, Hulk, yes, I mean, he probably wishes that, certain other people were locked in the cage instead of him, if you know what I mean, because Hogan, you didn't apologize. You apologized, for getting caught on camera, so you're not going to be forgiven for that. Anyway, Hulk's ribs, could they take the punishment? Well, Bundy bled a little bit later, so evidently they could. Hogan survives the avalanche, a splash in the corner, body slam, pretty impressive body slam, actually, and a leg drop. Bundy was a natural. Bundy does end up losing because he's trying to crawl out the door. Hogan leaves over the top, and he wins. And then he gets Heenan in the ring, who I believe did have a neck injury. I believe he did, of some variety. And he actually, I believe, had to fly out there, or Vince McMahon was going to get rid of him, as the story goes. And Bobby Heenan went out there and I believe got neck surgery, or he needed neck surgery, and then he flew out there and then he got neck surgery later. Anyway, the whole point is he did get, rewarded by managing Andre and getting a huge payoff at WrestleMania 3, 93,173. But, enough jokes about that. Heenan got battered around a little bit safely because Hogan was safe with Bobby Heenan, unlike Ultimate Warrior. And I would just like to say, like I said in my WrestleMania 2 review, fuck Ultimate Warrior, or I'm glad he's dead. Yep, WrestleMania 12 review, but still, you get the fucking point. Fuck Ultimate Warrior, glad he's dead. Fuck Fabulous Moolah, I'm glad she's dead as well. Because there are some real pieces of shit in wrestling, and it's not wishing death, no. I'm just glad that they suffered, because there are good people that should still be here. And I'm not saying I'm a good person, but I'm a passionate wrestling fan, and I want good people in wrestling. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of WrestleMania 2 in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.